Hi, friends and readers. Today we are going to continue to talk about character traits and how these character traits help us know the sequence of events. So, I can describe characters using details about their traits, motivations, and feelings, and explain how a character's actions affects the sequence of events in a story. So, when we're talking about characters, we want to think about what the character says, thinks, and what the characters do. All of these things help us understand the sequence of events and how a character traits and how a character might change over the course of a story. So, understanding what characters are like and why they act the way they do can help us see how they drive what happens in a story. Characters are people or animals in a story. When you read a story, you think about what the character says and do and why they act in a certain way. Just like real people, characters have feelings. They have traits or special qualities such as courage, pride, and honesty. They also have motivations or reasons for doing what they do. A character's actions contribute to or add to the sequence of events in a story. The sequence of events is everything that happens in the order it happens. Each action changes the story and what happens next. So when we're thinking about sequence of events, we started doing this all the way back in kindergarten. We're thinking about the plot, the beginning, the middle, and the end. What happens at the climax of our story? Well, normally for events to happen, a character is doing something, saying something, or having actions. So as we look at our cartoon that's coming up, I want to think about another story that we read just recently, which is Bruno's Home, and I referred to this earlier. When we think about Bruno's home, the actions of him trying to find a home is what led the whole story to be what it was. And the traits in the beginning of the story changed compared to the end, and we discussed this the other day. So when we looked at Bruno in the beginning, he was really determined to find a home. But as he dug and he dug and he couldn't build a home, he started to get discouraged. So him not being able to build a home stopped him and discouraged him from moving forward. But another event happened. And the event of him meeting the squirrel and the squirrel teaching him that you can have little people help changed the actions of the story. So now Bruno was able to build his home with the squirrel, and he changed the way he felt. His traits changed. He felt discouraged, and then now he felt satisfied that he had a home and that he could trust having a smaller friend. So one sequence of events led to another, and it also changed how the character felt and their actual character traits themselves. So as we look at the giant, we're just going to think about the giant himself, what he thinks, what he says, what he feels, and go from there. So this is the giant, small little cartoon that we're going to look at. So it says, "Let me help you over the mountain. I'll be here when you get home." So when we look at the character, the giant, we want to think, what is the giant like? So these are our traits. And we don't want to use just small little traits like happy, nice. We might want to say something like kind. He's helping the people get over the mountain. What motivations and what does the giant want? The giant wants to help the people. He says that I'm going to be here when you want to go home as well. So he's being very helpful. How does the giant feel? Well, by looking at the picture, I can tell that the giant probably feels satisfied with himself. He's happy, he's excited to help. And then what was the giant actually doing? His actions were he picked the people up and helped them get to where they needed to be. So we know that the character has so many layers. He has his traits, his motivation, he actually has feelings, and there's actions that support what he's doing. So when we're talking about characters and when we're looking at some other stories that we're reading, we want to think about all of these things that help develop a character. As we read, we might have a character who has all of these things but changes in the beginning and middle and end. So you could do a map like this at different parts of the story. So, readers, go ahead and look at the next story and enjoy. Think about how you can look at these traits, motivations, and feelings and actions about the character Susan B. Anthony.